Welcome team to Yoga for Balance and Bones. I could see you all nice and clearly. Thank you so much. Just to go over the props, although quickly, again, my email stated that this class is essentially a knee class, right? And I think what happens with yoga postures is we really focus on the aesthetics, right? If you think of, you're not doing anything yet, if you think of Warrior 2, how it's classically taught, it is a wide berth between one foot and the other in order to get, ideally in light on yoga, to look like BKS Iyengar. You see how this thigh is parallel to the ground and the earth, right? And what we do know about load and our joints is that our knees at 80 or 90 degrees are impacted or loaded at its highest level at this range. So if we can back off, which means we can get a narrower stance, we don't have to be quite as wide. And you can see this is, I don't know, 20 degrees, 25 degrees, or we can get beyond the 90-degree flexion, right? So this is much deeper. This is like, I don't know, 120 degrees, maybe even more. We'll have less load on the knee. So it's just getting past that 90-degree range, because if you look at the femur, which is your thigh bone, and your shin bone, this is your knee joint, right? We get more load in this angle, again, I'm just reiterating, than we do here or here, just because the way that the patella sits in the joint. We don't need to have an anatomy lesson, trust me on this one. So it's either above 90 degrees or lower or greater than 90 degrees, and we have less load on the knee. One thing we also know about the knee, just have a look at your knees. Can you have a seat for a second? This is a fun little try. It's an ask. Even if you just do one leg at a time and just jiggle your leg. Jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. Let it completely relax. So I want it to be straight. Karen, you and I have done this many a time, right? And you're gonna look at your patella, which is your kneecap that sits on top of the joint, or we're actually gonna look at the kneecap, which sits on top of the joint. Can you move it? And now you can't see from here, but I'm pushing from one side to the next. It's okay, it's meant to do that. It slides back and forth and up and down, right? It's meant to be able to move. However, a lot of us have shortened or tight muscles here because the way we stand, we tend to put our weight forward in our hips, which makes these tighten up. And after years, mostly because of footwear, not because you're purposely standing like this, and after years, these muscles get tight, which means they're short, which means they're contracted, which means this knee doesn't move from side to side. It's stuck, frozen, which can then lead to knee issues. My point being, we are going to mobilize and then strengthen this joint so that we can move better and be more pain-free in all the different ranges of motion. So the goal is, in life, is to be able to move that kneecap, because if you can't, that means the front of your thighs are all the time, clenched, right? So they have a purpose. Those quads need to work for exercise, for movement, for getting up from a chair, but we do not want those quadriceps contracted all the time. Okay, so we are going to start with just a little mindfulness, if you will. You can come onto your back, have your ball and a blanket handy for support. If you are not getting down to the ground, that's fine. You can sit in a chair right now. That's completely fine. If you're sitting, please ensure that your chair back is supporting you. If you're in a chair, you're going to also ensure that, on the floor, that your pelvis is elevated enough that you can have a nice tall spine, please. So let's go ahead and mute y'all just in case we have any feedback, and make you my biggest screen. Good. Okay. So just for a little mindfulness, find yourself in a seated position again. Let's just check in with our body with one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly, no matter how you're sitting. Softly close your eyes and just take a moment here just to start connect with your breath. I've had a pretty hectic morning, and I know my nervous system is a little kind of out of whack right now, but what I do know is that we all have control on how we respond to external circumstances. And that can be simply by focusing on your breath, letting go of the anticipation of the practice. With each exhalation, maybe even letting go of your expectations of your body, especially for those of us who have knee issues. As soon as we hear knee clasp, we get a little stressed out. So I want you to know that I've got your back. We're just exploring. So I want you to bring a sense of curiosity right now into your thoughts. Softening your temples, the space between your brow. And our goal here is to work within a pain-free range of motion. It does absolutely no good if we live with chronic pain in our knees, in our hips, in our low back. If we push ourselves and just feed that pain highway, if you will, into the brain. So we're going to do our best to move in that pain-free range of motion. We'll take one more breath together, team. And then as you exhale, for those of you who are not comfortable lying on your belly, you're going to do this seated in a chair, taking that ball. So bear with me while I demonstrate this. For those of you who are getting down to the ground, if you need some support, I don't think you'll need much here, but just in case, I got a white ball so that you could distinctly see the difference, starting on the front of my thigh, below my hip joint, and above my knee joint. So we're not ever placing this ball on our joint, and we're simply going to place the ball underneath one thigh, stack palms underneath our head, and point my toes away from me so that my kneecap and my leg is off the ground, and move my leg from side to side. So again, if you're sitting in a chair, you're going to press that ball into the front of your thigh, closest to your hip. So let's all start there. And then roll the ball left to right with your hand, adding gentle pressure. So I'll give you a moment to get set up. And it's really important that you soften into this surface, right? So again, if you're sitting in a chair, you're going to take that ball and you're going to move it left to right, east to west. So from the midsection to the outer leg, inner leg, outer leg. Good. For those of you who are on the floor right now, I want you to point your toes of the leg. So Jenny, point that toe so that the leg comes off the ground. Try to keep your hip quiet, but just move your leg left to right, east to west. Do it a little slower. Stack your palms underneath your forehead, Claire. You might find that a little bit more comfortable. Yeah, maybe not. Good. And just move it left to right. Like I said, east to west. You're pointing and reaching that leg away from your body so that you feel the heaviness of your leg on the ball. Good. So it'll feel really ropey, right? Because you're going against the prosciutto, against the grain. I always think of like the quadriceps, inserting in your hip, lengthening down. So now you're going against the grain. And then if you could grab that ball or scoot yourself forward towards the head of your mat and get it a little farther down towards your kneecap. So we're only going to do 3 placements today, left to right, east to west. Same thing. So we're just moving it down just a smidge. And sometimes it's nice to just pull yourself forward. Good. Good. Same thing. And it might be a little uncomfortable, in which case you probably, if you're feeling any pain, the load is simply too much for that muscle right now. And the seated version, rolling the ball left to right, east to west, might be best right now for you. Good, and just focus on nice, calm, easy breaths here. Move it 3, 4, 5 times left to right, and then you're gonna take that ball one last time, shimmy it just above the knee. Remember, no kneecap. This is not on a joint, this is not on a bone. It is on the muscles, moving left to right, east to west. There are many different ways to apply this type of myofascial release. So the fascia connects, wraps around your muscles. This is just one. Nice, Jenny, good. Perfect. If you could make your way into quadruped team, so all fours, turn to the side, come on up to quadruped with the toes curled under. Take your time, there's no rush. I'm just demonstrating. I want to try and stretch the front of my thigh with that newfound freedom in that leg and come back. So we're really lengthening the front of the thigh as we stretch our hips back towards our heels. And just do that, 3, 4, 5 times. Try to keep that tailbone nice and long, chin is tucked in, toes are curled under. That's it. So the farther back you get your bum towards the back of your mat, the deeper the stretch you might feel. And if there's restriction, that's okay. Respect the restriction. It's there for a reason. It's usually some sort of protective mechanism. Good. Watch that rounding of your back, Ms. Jenny. Yeah, I know. The cat snuck in there. And then find yourself, team, right back on your belly or seated, whichever variation you were most comfortable with. And you're gonna do the same thing, starting below the hip, left to right, especially, just in general, but especially people who have their newfound hips, we do not want to put this kind of pressure on the joint. And same thing, you're gonna point through the toe, sharp leg, no knee bend, and then move the leg gently left to right, east to west. That's better, Karen, nice. So you can put one hand on top of the other and just use your hands and the pressure. Yes, good. Try to get both feet flat on the floor, Karen. Yeah, yeah, good. Nice, Jojo. And really reach through that leg, Linda. Good. Support your forehead with stacked palms or a blanket or a rolled face towel. Good. And you know what to do. You can either pull yourself forward with your forearms or you can grab the ball with your hand and shoot it a little farther down, mid-thigh. Let's just say mid-thigh. But you can feel the ropiness in between the front of the thigh, right? In your thigh, the different quadriceps, there's 4 muscles, right, that attach from your hip into your knee or above your knee, and you can feel them there. Good, and then one more shift just above the knee for me, please, and thank you. Gosh, Linda, your hair's looking very summery-ish today. It's very light. That's it, Dina. Try to point your toes, Janet, for me. Perfect. And when you're done this next swipe left to right, east to west, you're gonna come right back for me, team, onto your quadruped position. Push your hands into the ground, and again, rock your hips back. Just really focus on widening through those sit bones. So again, you're getting that stretch in the front of the thigh without rounding your back. You don't have to come quite so far forward, Jojo. Just from the 4-point kneel position, joints stacked to the hips back towards heels. Good. That's it, Karen. Love it. Good. And then from here, team, could you come onto your back, please? So we know that when we're on our back, we want to support the curves of our spine, whether it be with a rolled towel or a blanket. making sure that neck is nice and long, and you're gonna have your resistance band with you. I believe that was part of my wish list for today. And just start with your feet flat on the floor, please, and your knees bent, Linda. Making sure that transition is not a flop roll onto your back, right? Right. Nice, Jenny. Thank you. You make me proud. So now just lift the base of your skull up and lengthen the base of your skull away. So you're just trying to pull your skull up and back. So you lengthen through the back of the neck and then set your head back down. Yeah, good. Pull your right knee in towards your chest, please. Keep your left knee bent for me, Claire, and your left foot on the ground. Yes, thank you. And then from here, simply take your foot into the strap, like create a little bit of a cradle, perhaps in the forefoot. So behind the toes toward, and then a cradle the bottom end in your arch. So behind the toes, cradle in your arch, starting with a bent knee position, chest is nice and open, upper arm bones are resting on the ground. And then we're gonna go again, really focusing on our full range of motion. So push, push, push into the band. You'll feel that knee extend. So that's 180 degrees. And then full flexion, as much flexion as you can get. Bring your heel towards your seat and then push up again. Good, so we inhale. We call this posture in this full extension Supta Padangusthasana 1 with the leg extended, and then a partial Upasana with the knee bent and the heel in towards the seat. So again, if we want to nourish our joint, we need to load the joint, right? And this is really stressing the joint, but in the best possible way, because there is no load necessarily, just a little bit from your resistance. You may notice that you're able to flex your knee, which is bending your knee a little bit more when you're not putting your body weight on it, and straighten then when you're standing. Good. So your body is natural load, and that's why we can still give information into our bones using body weight exercises. We'll go one more time for good measure. And push, and then release. Place your foot on the ground, and let's repeat the same thing on the opposite leg. Behind the toes, towards the center of the heel. Upper arm bones, elbows bent, upper arm bones on the floor. Find your full extension under tension, just gentle tension if you will. And then full flexion to the best of your ability. Heel comes in towards your seat, knee flexes and bends. So let's see what that looks like in you, please. Yeah, so most of you are going beyond 90 degrees right now, right? Which means your squat is pretty deep unloaded, or your range of motion is pretty deep unloaded. So remember, it's doable here. This is a great place. Susan, can you bend your right knee for me, please? Put your right foot on the ground. This is a good way to explore that range of motion. So the can't doesn't seem to exist here, right? Good. One more time for me, Claire. That's it, Dina. Push. Beautiful. Remove that band. Good. Pause for a moment. Relax your shoulders. Take a couple of breaths. So let that sink in for a moment, team. Right? That you were able to flex your knee beyond 90 degrees, no problem on your back. So this means that there is a possibility of your squat getting deeper and thereby stronger with practice, right? So we're going to practice another element that goes hand in hand with our quadriceps as you gently turn to your side and find an upright seated position. So I believe I might have said a few blankets, right? So I am lucky enough to got this old bolster, sun bleach bolster. I'm gonna sit up on the bolster. And maybe have a couple of blankets behind me. A couple of blankets in addition to that. I'm going to try with one and see how it works, or if it works. Yeah, I'm going to need a little bit more. So I'm going to grab one more blanket. This is my I'm cold watching TV shawl. And I'm going to wrap my first roll in a second roll just so that I can make it pretty darn big. And I'll show you up close. You see, I just made a big, yeah. Hi, Maureen. Did you just sneak in there? No? All of a sudden you just like showed up. The squares tend to move around sometimes. So I'm going to show you from this angle. We're simply going to place the back of our knee supported on this large roll. If you don't have multiple blankets, that's fine. You're going to have to probably sit your bum down on the ground and lean back, ensuring that you're pushing away from the floor, lifting your rib cage out of your pelvis, right? So the backwards lean is fine today, as long as the spine is tall. So push into the ground, yeah? Okay, we all ready, team? Good, Linda? You can still have support behind your back if you want to have a sofa, that's fine too. And then my heel is resting on the floor, so there is slight flexion in that knee. Minimal, barely 5 degrees, but there is bending in the back of the knee as I let my heel rest. Good. And from here, I want you to flex your toes back towards your body and reach your heel towards the wall in front of you. And you'll see, as I do that, my heel lifts up off the ground. So I'm shooting that heel with laser light, Star Wars style, away from me. For 3, stay tall. For 2, yeah, we're cash here, Karen. And 1, and release, lower that back down. So take your hand to your thigh. Give it a jiggle. Your heel is on the ground. We want it relaxed. We want that kneecap to be able to wiggle in this position. It shouldn't be working. It shouldn't be tight. Yours may be, but ideally with long-term myofascial release, right? We want to try to ensure that there is that relaxed state of your quadricep, right? For the health of the knee. Right? Has a time and a place to contract. Let's do it again. Toes back, heel reaches, lift up that heel via this strength in that ankle. So flex that ankle, extend the knee. We'll hold it for 5, 4, stay tall, 3, 2, 1. Keep your toes pointing up towards the ceiling, right? No duck feet here. And 1. Let's do that a couple more times. Again, heel reaches, toes draw back, push, push, push through that heel. Tighten through that quad. Touch your quad. It should be hard as a rock now. 5, 4, 3. We're strengthening. 2, and 1. That's it. And release. Yep. One more time, okay? Here we go. Big breath in. Exhale. If you're on the ground, you can use your hands to support your spine by pushing into the ground. Reach, 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 Dina. 5, 4. Same with you, Sue. 3, 2, and 1, and release. Good. Shake it out. Give it some love. A little massage. Yeah? And we'll switch legs now. So the opposite leg, the knee resting on the bolster. You'll find this is a really probably a very common rehabilitation exercise in a physiotherapy setting for knee issues, right? In terms of strengthening the quads. So just because it's tight doesn't mean it's strong, right? We know this by now, team. So tightness does not mean your quadricep is, right? It just doesn't know how to relax, and it's probably super short from a lifetime of a whole bunch of things. But it's okay, we're working on it, right? That's the whole point. Draw your toes back, reach through the heel. We'll do this 4 times. You're gonna feel a nice stretch in the back line. 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. Here's the thing. Just because I'm counting, please ensure you're not holding your breath, right? So let's breathe through all of this. Take a big breath in, exhale as you extend, and you continue to breathe. You're making this look easy, everybody. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. And again, We start with a relaxed thigh. We do the exercise to contract and strengthen. So this is like a bicep curl for the muscles of the front of the thigh. 4, 3, 2, 1, release. Last time, here we go. Big breath in, exhale, reach and lift. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and release. Good. Can you come down onto the floor for me now? So just gently scoot. Don't slam yourself. Take your hands behind you or your fists if you have issues. Yeah? Issues with your wrists, I mean. That was a funny thing to say. Your feet can be hip width apart. Push into the ground and lift up. Legs are straight for me. Good. Now, as you draw, we're going to do the same thing, but one leg at a time. You're going to reach your toes back, reach your heels forward. Your heel is probably going to lift off the ground. And then can you float your leg up and lower? Give me about 5 lifts. Maybe it just hovers. Good. But our goal is not to roll back off of our sit bone. So we want to stay on left and right sit bone. Lift and lower that straight leg 5 times. It's not easy because that's a heavy leg. Good. And lower. Good. Don't forget to breathe. Lift, lift, lift. You can lean back a little. Remember, walk your hands back. Yep. One more time for me. You got it, Linda. You're trying though. You can see the work. Doesn't matter if it doesn't lift. You're trying. Good. And the muscles know that, right? So slowly, slowly, slowly. Let's do 5 on the other side. Team, when you're ready. Yes, Claire, that's it. Nice, Dina. Some of you, I can't see all of your legs. Like Sandy, I can just see you from the chest up. I know, it's okay. Good. Yeah, like I can literally see, for those of you wearing shorts, I can see your muscles flexing. That's what we're after. This is a little bit more aggressive than just the heel floating off the floor, right? Because that leg is darn heavy. Good. Perfect. So you're done that. And now, since you're there, let's just enjoy a beautiful posture called Upavishta Konasana. With your hands behind you, try to lift up out of your waistline as much as you can. If you need to, because you're rolling back off of those sit bones, focus on walking the fingertips back and keeping your chest proud, right? So there's always this force of elevating out of the waistline, and extend your legs as wide as you comfortably can. Wide, wide, wide. Yes, reach through the heels without the heels lifting off the floor. For me, I hyperextend. That means I have a micro bend in my knees to achieve this pose. Otherwise, I hyperextend, right? And that means my heels will float off the floor. So keeping my heels down, you're keeping your heels down. Lift up out of the waistline. For those who find this easy on their hip flexors, reach one arm up and the other arm up. Whew. That means you have to really anchor those legs. This is not a challenge. This is just if that was easy. Good. For 3, for 2, for 1. Good. So looking at knee health means looking at other parts of your body. So take your hands behind your knees, gently bend your knees and bring them in together. Turning to your side, we're coming to a standing position. So if you need a chair to transition to 4-point, making sure your props are comfortably out of the way and push yourself up. Grab a quick sip of water. Good. Let's all stand with our feet hip width apart, all 10 toes facing forward. Good. Proud chest. Lift up out of the waistline even here. So again, full extension of the knees in standing position. And I mentioned all the different movements of the knees. Here we're going to explore a little bit of rotation, which seems scary to a lot of people. What do you mean my knees rotate? They actually do, but not with straight legs. So bend your knees, please. Good. Take your hands to the tops of your thighs like you're a back catcher. And then just, you can gently circle your knees around your ankles. That's it, good. So the knees are doing the same thing at the same time. You're still lifting out of the waistline, finding that sense of tone. Good. So it's really important. We call this knee washing, right? We're bringing new and fresh blood into the joint, into the cartilage, every time we add this load. Unique and novel. Good. For 3, for 2, that's it. And 1, good. Shake out your legs. Posture check. Before we continue, take one hand to the crown of your head, extend the opposite hand, and once again, lift up out of the waistline, left and right side. Separate your feet just outside of your hips and turn your toes out to roughly 11 and 1. Yeah, good. Keep that tall posture. Place your hands on your hips. Squeeze those elbows back. I'd love to see those collarbones nice and open here. And then just bend and straighten the knees. Bend and straighten the knees. So again, for those of you who have knee sensitivities, I get going down to 90 degrees is really uncomfortable. The trick is getting past the 90. May not happen today. So I'm going to ask you to stay well above the 90 degree for those who are living with arthritis of the joint or any other knee issue. Play with the position of your feet, please. Bring them parallel and give it a try. See if that feels different, all within the same context of keeping that spine lifted. Good. I forgot to mention, we will be adding a little bit of balance play. Change the position of your squat, get creative. I know for me, if I widen my stance, I can create a little bit more space in my hip joint to get down further. And we push the ground away. Good. For 4, whoop. 3, play again with the position of your legs. 2, and 1. Good. Grab a resistance band. I did mention a resistance band on the email. If you do not have one that's tied, you can tie the one you have. Hip width apart, shoulder width apart, hip width, something like that. And then take your band once it's tied, or you can tie it in this position above the knees. So we're trying to strengthen, yes, lots of muscles, but our quadriceps squats tend to be more quadricep dominant, more front of thigh dominant. And right away, you should be able to feel the tension on the left and right side of your leg. So I'll wait, give you another minute if you want to have a sip of water while you're waiting. Good. You guys are fast. So standing with your feet hip width apart, you want to have tension, right? So if you feel like it's starting to slide down, it's not tight enough. Right. And then now separate your feet just outside of your hips, slight turn out of the toes. Give me 8 body weighted squats, but ensuring that you continue to keep the pressure in the outer parts of your leg, right? So you're not pushing with your knees, you're pushing with your legs, which connects right into your hips. So we're gonna go down and up, keeping that tension in the band, keeping the alignment. So coming into your version of a malasana squat, 8 times, please. Now remember what your capacity is on your back. It's much different here, right? Bum down. That's what happens in a squat. Bum goes down. Pushing out. That's it, Karen. Let's see, Sue. Yup. Layering things on. Even wider feet, Maureen. You can take them as wide as your mat as you want, if you want. Good. 2 sets of squats. But the second set we're gonna do with a suitcase carry. So grab your medium weights, please, adding a little extra load. Feet just outside of the hips. Toes slightly turned out. Remember, we want to try to keep the shoulders from rolling forward. So really start with them set on your back, collarbones stay broad. Remember what a squat is. Your bum goes down, your bum goes up. Yeah, so give me 8 more of your suitcase carries, armpits tight to your body, pressure in the band. Yeah, so we're now adding more information into the front of your thighs. Think about sitting in a chair. What does that feel like? Yes, Linda. So it's not a plie, it's not just a knee bend. Your bum is going down, but there is an element of it going back a little bit. I try to keep that wording out or we end up with people hinging. 8 times. You done 8 times? Good. So you're done your load. Have a seat. Take your band off and pause. You can come to stand in mountain pose. Quick sip of water is in order. Again, if you need a chair, please have it handy. We are transitioning into low lunge position, so a blanket might be helpful close by. No weight is required at this time. Arms by your side, spin your palms out and away. Good. You see how your collarbone smiled immediately? Good. Pause for a moment. Feel the tripod of your feet. Big toe mound, pinky toe mound, center of your heel. As you inhale, circle sweep your arms wide enough. As you exhale, arms come down by your side. You push your hips back. Good. Hands come to your thighs. Push into your thighs, elbows straighten, head up, look up. Nice. Bend your elbows and fold. Push into the ground. Inhale, head up, come up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Nice job. Again, inhale, reach wide enough. Exhale and fold. For those with blood pressure issue, remember keeping your head higher than your heart. Inhale, head up, look up. Exhale and fold. This time, take your hands to the top of your right thigh, both hands. Yeah. Step back with your left leg and lower your left knee to the floor. Good. So now you're in a low lunge position. Good. From here, we're going to inhale, reach those arms wide enough. Exhale, lower them to your side. Foot on seat of chair. If you're not coming into a low lunge is completely fine. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, lower your hands to the top of your right thigh and shimmy your right toes forward a little bit. Don't change anything else. Just shimmy your right toes forward. So instead of us being in this 90-90, I'm going to shimmy those toes forward and then really think about squeezing through the seat. Yeah. And lengthening that tailbone as we lunge forward a little bit. So you're going to feel that stretch through the front of that left hip flexor. Good. And just take a couple of moments. If you want to lunge forward a little bit, if you're feeling it in your low back, that's completely fine. Press into that right leg. Inhale, come on up. Curl your back toes under and come to stand. Use a chair. Step your feet together. Good. Step your feet wide. Pivot on your left toes and turn your left toes out. Good. Perfect. So again, we're going to play a little bit here with that left leg. So I want you to bend that left knee a little bit. And then straighten it. Just bend and straighten. Remember, our chest doesn't need to face straight forward. It can pivot and turn towards that front leg a little bit. It might feel a lot more comfortable in the low back and reduce any twisting that might be happening. Good. A couple more times. Good. And again, we know that that 90 is when that knee is loaded the most. So I'm going to suggest to you, in lieu of that 90, I want you to break at the knee, break at the hip, maybe about 45 degree angle. Good. And then float those arms out. Good. Now, can you imagine you have a resistance band in your legs and you're pushing outwards with both legs? So what that's going to do is it's going to engage your muscles of your bum a little bit more. Yeah, that's it. Dina's touching. Yep, they're engaged. Good. Float those arms up. Gaze over your left fingertips. Nice job. So again, reducing the bend in your knee is going to decrease the load so that we're not putting that unintentional pressure on the knee joint, which may be not appropriate for everybody. And besides, we're not practicing to be on the cover of the yoga journal. Take one more breath. Take your your left hand to your left thigh for me, please. Yeah, left hand to left thigh, right arm to the sky, and just slightly lean forward, any amount. Good. Really reach out through those right fingertips like you're feeling long. Good. For 3, keep pushing outwards with the legs into the imaginary resistance band. 2, 1, come back to your warrior 2, please. Straighten through that front leg and pivot on your heel. Very good. Step your feet together. And let's just enjoy probably one of the most challenging poses for knee issues, but really good at strengthening those quads. So we're going to do it dynamically. We're going to bend the knee and hips, sit into chair pose, Utkatasana, push the floor away for 1. Good. And bend the knees and reach. Good. Push the floor away. Nice, Sandy. And up. That's the deepest, powerful pose I've ever seen. One last time. And come up and pause for a moment. Relax your thighs. That's a lot of work for them, right? Standing poses are hard. Good, here we go. Inhale. As you exhale, push your hips back. Come into your forward fold. Straighten the elbows. Inhale, look up. That's it, good. Exhale and fold. Push the ground away. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands down by your side. One more time, please. Inhale, sweep those arms wide enough. Exhale and fold. Good. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale to fold. This time we're going to take the other leg back. So both hands on the top of your left thigh, please. So one hand on top of the other. That's it. Step your right leg back. Good. Lower your right knee to the floor. So we're in roughly a 90 degree position from here. Good. Arms by your side. Inhale, sweep them forward and up. Exhale, arms down by your side. Good. One more time. Inhale, reach. Exhale, lower. Hands to the top of your left thighs once again, and then shimmy your left foot forward just a couple of inches, right? From here, we're gonna lunge forward, getting that nice stretch in through the front of your right thigh from this angle. And take a breath or 2. Again, hinge forward with that nice long spine to get out of your back if you're feeling it there. Good, come right back up. Press into that left leg, come to stand. Good. Pause for a moment. Just make sure that, again, in this standing position, the only way your knees are going to be able to relax when you're standing, doing your household activities, whether it's preparing your own lunch or a cup of coffee, is if there's a micro bend in your knees. Right? If we're constantly pushing our thighs back and standing with locked out knees, you're basically just turning these on the whole time. So soften a little bit, yeah? Good, shake out the legs. Grab a quick sip of water, grab a blanket, and join me again. So just a singular blanket will suffice. Make it into a nice fold, something like this. Good. Place it down on the floor, right in front of you. Again, a chair is always nearby, team, so if you need some added support, please have it there and stand on this. We're going to use this as our unlevel ground. So I don't want you to make a mess of the blanket, just fold it so it has some depth to it. You can actually feel that you're standing on a blanket, not just a soft floor. Good, so this is going to just add a nice little element of proprioception, of balance for you. Making sure all 10 toes are lifted for a moment so that you can feel the connection of your mounds of your feet equally and evenly, and then stretch those toes away from your foot and lower them to the ground. So we want the biggest base of support we can get here. Inhale, reach, widen up. We're going right back into our sun salutation. Exhale and fold. Inhale to lengthen. And exhale to fold once again. Push the ground away. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Good. I'm just going to step to the right of my blanket for a moment. Scoot that blanket, maybe just kind of move it over. I'm going to knead it to my left-hand side rather, as will you. I'm going to fold it, in fact. And let's find that nice wide stance. So my blanket is on the floor beside my left foot. I'm gonna take my foot on that blanket. And this is why I'm saying, if you need any support, now's the time. Place that blanket in front of you. This is gonna feel really weird. Lift your forefoot and pivot just carefully so that your toes are set up. Your foot is set up for warrior two. Yeah, it's a little slippy, so just be careful. Good, and then bend through that front knee. Good, so you have this uneven surface here, so just be mindful. You're gonna feel like you need to push down a little bit more through that front leg, so try to disperse the leg. Remember, the weight of the legs is moving out into that imaginary band. Get the seat fired up. Inhale, reach those arms wide. And then slowly look over your fingertips. A little bit of shaking going on over here if your blanket is thick enough. The muscles need to work a little bit harder, right? So they're contracting those quadriceps muscles just a little bit more. Good, lower your left hand to the top of your left thigh. Reach your right arm up to the sky and slowly hinge towards your left leg. Good. Keep lifting out of the waistline. Good. Take a breath here, relax your shoulders. 2 and 1. Ooh, that quadricep is burning now. Straighten through that front leg. Step off carefully and let's just remove the blanket from your left side and place it over to your right side. I think mine's a little too deep, but nonetheless, I'm gonna take my right foot on top of the blanket. Nice wide stance of the legs. Pivot, so you're rotating that leg bone in the socket. Float those arms up. Okay, lift up out of your waistline, please. Bend through that front knee. Again, the blanket is gonna make things just a smidge more difficult and add an element of balance here. Push that right knee out to the right. Press that back heel down into the floor and then softly turn your gaze over your right fingertips. Nice job, team. 3, 2, 1. Right hand comes to right thigh, left arm to the sky. Good, and a little bit of a hinge at the waist here, at the hip rather. Reaching up for me, Janet, that's it. Like you're trying to reach for something that's slightly out of your grasp. For 3, find that tone in the abdomen. For 2 and 1, come back to your warrior 2, straighten through that front leg, and then again, parallel the legs and carefully step off of that blanket. Nice job, team. We're gonna come down to the mat for now to finish off the class, but I wanna do that from the back of our mat, okay? So coming to the back of your mat, you will be transitioning to a 4-point kneel via a lunge. So again, have your props to your side. Inhale, reach your arms wide enough. Exhale, forward fold. Bend your knees, touch down, come on to 4-point kneel. Okay. Place the tops of your feet flat on the floor. And now start to walk your hips or move your hips back towards your heels, trying to feel that lengthening through the front of the quads. You may be able to get a little bit deeper. Widen the knees just a little bit more for me. So coming to a variation of an extended child's pose via these rock backs here. 2. Last one. Wherever you find your hips lengthening away from the crown of the head, then you're simply going to inch your arms forward away from your hip creases. Head comes down in line with your upper arms, like you're framing your head here. That's it. That's it, Linda. If for any reason this doesn't feel comfortable, stack your palms underneath your forehead and stay there with a little bit of support. Keep the top of your feet flat on the floor if you can. Good. And then stay in your child's pose, Linda. So try to keep your hips as far back as you can. So you see right now, I would say pretty much everybody here is beyond 90 degrees under a little bit of load. Do you see that? Watch your back there, Jenny. Come forward. Jenny, come forward for me. Untuck your tailbone. So stick your butt back. Yep. Really focus on widening through the sit bones. That's better. Good. Take another breath here. Beautiful, Dina. 3, 2. You need a ponytail, Claire. 1. Perfect job, team. Come to a supine position. I want you to lie on your back. We don't often think about the inner thighs in our standing pose, but they are most definitely part of our quadriceps, and they actually do need a little bit of stretching at the end of our practice. So we're going to enjoy a cobbler's pose, if you will. If you want to do a seated variation, please ensure that your hips are higher than your knees. Bring your thighs to touch, team. And then let your knees fall open. You can make your feet, soles of your feet touch, and keep those knees nice and wide. Now, I like to add my hands to my inner thighs as a little gentle load, but is absolutely not necessary. And then we've been contracting a lot of muscles, all right, around our hip, around our knee and our thigh, of course. So see here if you can use that breath to let go of any tension you may feel in your inner groin, inner thigh area. And if you're lucky enough to have extra blankets or bolster, you can prop them up on the outer edges of your hips to lift your knees a little bit higher. So if this feels too unsupported, which it is unsupported, feel free to prop some blankets underneath your hips to raise your knees. Place your hands on your belly. And really focus on the next few minutes on taking that breath really deep down into our abdomen. If this definitely feels too much of a strain for you, again, with the support even, you can just bring your knees to touch and feet wider apart. So make that adjustment here. Enjoying these moments of silence as you focus on perhaps the sound of your breath. At least making it audible so that you can hear for yourself. Your own breath as you iron out that breath. Long, cool, quiet inhales and exhales through your nose. And at the end of your next exhalation, please use your hands to bring your thighs together. Separate your feet hip width apart as we go into a figure 4 stretch here, team. We're going to take our left ankle and place our left ankle on the top of the right knee. For some of us, this is a great place to be. It can be a bit of a strain on the inner knee, in which case this is where you're going to stay, moving your right foot farther away from your sit bones. And for some of us, we may be able to bring that thigh in towards your chest. There is no reward. There is no extra bonus, whether you can do one or the other. Just mindfully think of your approach causing no harm. Feel the weight of your pelvis and notice if you could even that out. And then simply switch sides, please, placing your foot down, taking your left ankle, rather your right ankle to your left knee. Either moving your left foot away from your sit bones if you feel any flattening of the low back, or some of us may be able to bring that foot closer or even float it off the ground. So find it your own version of your figure 4 stretch. Really focus here, Dina, on that tailbone staying as heavy as you can. You are the prize, right? So we want to honor your body, taking care to find a variation that suits you best. We'll hold that for 3, for 2, and for 1. Straighten your legs out for a moment. Enjoy a nice little stretch. So for some of us, team, this is a stretch, right? I remember doing my level 1 bone fit training, and they say we should lie on the floor every day because this is a position of full extension, which we're often not in. So if this feels like it doesn't pull on your low back, you're welcome to keep your legs straight. Otherwise, you can support the backs of your knees or even bend your knees, letting them rest inwards towards one another for our final moments of resting together. So take your time, find that position. I'm hopeful you're not in a place in Canada that you need blankets to cover yourself, but if you do, so be it. And your only job here is to try to be as still as you can. Trying not to attach yourself to any particular thoughts, but instead use your breath to stay centered, to stay focused on this moment in time. We get really caught up in the bone health world with our DEXA scan numbers, our outcome of risk assessment. But we have to know that we are so much more than numbers. Just as we learn through mindfulness practices and yoga concepts and theories that we are not this body. Right? It is simply the vehicle for which we get to enjoy this life. So let go of it, soften. Encourage your body here to be supported for these final few moments. And then when you feel ready, if you feel ready, and you may not, you are always welcome to stay where you are. Start to bring some gentle movement back into your body, team. Fingers and toes, turning your head from left to right. If your knees are not bent, please go ahead and do so and place your feet on the floor. And do take your time as you transition to a comfortable seat if you're joining me there. Otherwise, please enjoy the rest of your mindful moment. Great job, everybody. Thank you so much for your hard work. But I hope you grasp the concept that 90 degree in our standing poses, like Virabhadrasana 2, like our side angle pose, like even the full extent of chair pose, that 90 degree is just for visual purposes, right? I don't see the value in loading our knee at 90 degree flexion. I do see full range of motion as value, which means full extension of the knee and full flexion. So if we want to bring information, strength, and mobility into that joint supported, we need to get full flexion and full extension, whether it be on our back, on our side, or standing. So hopefully you revisit this class again. Thank you so much, team, for being here. Have a great, great day.